What's up, fellow Saiyans? Welcome back to episode 8 of our Marvel Minipaints. Tonight we're doing Fantomex of the X-Force and sometimes X-Men. He's a pretty cool character. I like using him in the game. He lets you see like the upcoming cards of what's happening and stuff. Like his powers are like misdirection. Like you'll think he's here, you'll be talking to him, meanwhile he's gone. We're going to start the skin with elven flesh, basically just for up by his eyes, because that's the only place on his body where there's flesh. Now for the main part of everything, we're going to be using mummy robes because it's not the lightest version of white we have. That way there's always a little shade brighter we can go. The brush I'm using is a Army Painter Regiment brush that came with the Mega set whenever I bought it. It's a pretty good brush. Like, I mean, I've been using it. It's covered a lot of figures now. It holds up well. It's good with detail. Even though I have other brushes for it, you can still get it done if you need to with this brush. And again, these videos are sped up like 4 times their normal speed. Usually, like this process usually takes 2 hours. And I am by no means a professional at this. I just like doing this in my spare time. But yeah, it'll take a little while to cover up his whole coat and outfit in this mummy robes color. There'll have to be several coats of this, of course, because it's white of all colors. So, of course, you're going to need 2 to 3, maybe even more on certain spots. And this is, you can kind of be messy with this because it doesn't really matter what you get it on because everything will be able to cover up all white. Just try not to smother up details with too much paint. Fantomex is a character. He was first introduced in the new X-Men. I'm not exactly sure what issue. I want to say it's like, I don't even know. I don't even want to take a wild guess because I remember seeing it. I have the trade of it, but not the actual one itself. But he's a pretty cool character, and like kind of, in my opinion, he kind of took over the Gambit role in the X-Men. Like, he does everything Gambit does, but I don't know. He has different powers. And apparently we lost our music to this. Oh, well, we'll just have a quiet one. Again, you want to make sure you're not covering up the details. Like if you put a lot of paint in a spot, you want to make sure you keep going over. You want little light strokes, not a lot of paint smudged on, because if it covers up certain details and the paint dries, you won't even see them anymore. So you want to make sure that you're not putting too much paint over top of detailed areas. We got some different music going this time. Whatever. If somehow you fast forwarded to this part and you're trying to get past the white, keep going. Because there's a lot more white. Or sorry, mummy robes. Here's where I learned things as editing videos goes, that I should have just made this one a lot shorter. Because it's a lot of just white. finally, we're gonna let that dry. Now we're gonna be using our only other color, Necromancer cloak, in this costume. It's only on the certain lines you'll see throughout his costume. They streak down the back of his coat and on his sides as well. You'll want to be careful when you're doing this one because you don't want to throw any Necromancer cloak on the white, although, I mean, you're probably going to, but hey, it happens. Now I'm going to switch over to my little detail brush and just start trying to work in the Necromancer cloak into the lines. This is a cheap detail brush set. I bought it at Hobby Lobby. I think it might have been $4 or $5 tops. Came with 3 of them. These I like these little things a lot. Now we're going to let that dry for a bit. We're going to take some pure red for the X symbol on his belt, like all other X-Men characters have. I'm going to go back and add some more white and black to certain areas with a detail brush. Or mummy robes and Necromancer cloak. The mid-tones. I'm using what would have been, it's an old, I don't even know the size of it, but I was using it to fix what I was doing. Now I'm going to be using plate mail metal for the plate. He's standing on like a metal platform of some sort, or it's like a broken piece of metal. So we'll use plate mail metal for that. Now for the ground below the plate mail, we're going to be using dark stone, just as like gravel and rock kinda. Now we're going to be using gunmetal, just for like little parts and pieces. Now we're going to begin our washing process with flesh wash, although you need barely any because you're just doing his face and it's just up by his eyes, so you barely need any flesh wash for this. So just put a little bit on, then make sure if it's any bubbles or any grooves it's in, you wipe it out. And then head over to the dark tone, because this is going to be our big thing here, because you're going to try to add a little bit of water to this in order to shade your everything, like to shade the white. You kind of want to use dark tone with water down a little bit. But you got to be very, very careful how you apply this, because if too much water builds up in one spot, it'll leave bubbles, and it'll just immediately start ruining the paint. I did it a few times, had to paint over certain spots. I'm still kind of like not 100% satisfied with my result, but it's done. I want to move on to other characters. But it is, when you're trying to wash this, when you mix the dark tone with some water, like I don't have all the, like I said, I'm not a professional painter, so I don't got all the special the things you need to dilute it with, the medium shit that you mix it with to get more out of it. I don't have that, so I just use a little bit of water. I can't praise enough. Just make sure there's no bubbles and no giant hunks of water, of liquid. Now underneath, I'm using actual dark tone for underneath it because it doesn't matter under there. And any dark spots, like his gloves, anything we use, the Necromancer cloak, we're going to be using dark tone over that as well. Now for his eyes, we're gonna use. I used electric blue because he has blue eyes. And I apply just a tiny little. I have this little. I don't know the size of it, but I call it my eye dauber. It's real tiny, and it's just a couple daubs on the eye is all I do. Now for the highlights, once it's dry, we're going to be using matte white, and I'm going to be dry brushing his coat and his outfit, all the white parts. So we're going to soak our dry brush in the paint, wipe it off, and then gently bristle across certain areas. Don't bristle too hard because you'll see, especially if there's a little bit of wash still wet, damp, it's not dry, it'll rip the paint right off. You'll get a shitty result, trust me. Now we're going to be using uniform gray for the necromancer cloak highlights. I forgot to mention, I also use dark tone for the whole base. The metal he's standing on and the darks, all the rock and gravel and everything underneath. Now we're going to be using ash gray for highlights on the ground. And this is going to be Fantomex. Thank you all for watching. And as always, if you want to get notified when more episodes are available, subscribe. If you want to watch these videos live, follow me on Twitch or Facebook at Saiyan Elite. Thanks for watching, and later, Saiyans.